Did you know that Tim Scott is suspending his presidential campaign? He had been stuck in the low single digits in polling. Did you know that Ron DeSantis' campaign announced it raised over $1 million in the 24 hours after the third debate? Did you know that the Biden campaign and the DNC have spent $1 million on ads mentioning abortion this year, according to Ad Impact? Did you know that Donald Trump leads a matchup poll against Joe Biden by Bloomberg and Morning Consult with 40% support compared to Biden's 38%? Did you know that Abigail Spanberger launched her bid for Virginia governor? She is serving her third term in the House and will not run for re-election next year. Did you know that Donald Trump yet again proposed the death penalty for drug traffickers? He said China has no drug problems because of such a measure. Did you know that Donald Trump said he would consider Tucker Carlson as a potential running mate in 2024? Trump said Carlson had great common sense. Did you know that the EU is sending another €25 million in humanitarian aid to Gaza? This brings the total to over €100 million this year. Did you know that Emmanuel Macron said France will send another €80 million in humanitarian aid to Palestine this year to bring the total to €100 million? Did you know that Nikki Haley raised over $1 million in the 24 hours after the debate? She also set a record day for the campaign's small dollar fundraising. Did you know that Chris Christie's campaign said he qualified for the fourth GOP debate? However, it cites polling that may not meet the RNC requirements. Did you know that Italy has seen over 145,000 migrants enter the nation this year? This is 52,000 more than the same period in 2021. Did you know that Kevin McCarthy said he may not run for re-election? He said he would have to talk to his family on the matter. He previously said he would run for re-election. Did you know that Joe Biden's approval rating sits at 44% according to a poll by News Nation and Decision Desk HQ? His disapproval rating sits at 56%. Did you know that Germany has seen over 250,000 people apply for asylum from January to September? Over 130,000 did so in the same period last year. Did you know that Donald Trump defended his administration's decision to separate migrant families at the southern border? He argued that the policy deterred hundreds of thousands from crossing the border. Did you know that Tim Scott's presidential campaign saw spending struggles? During the third quarter, it spent $12.4 million despite raising just $4.6 million. Did you know that Joe Biden's handling of the Israel-Hamas war is met with a split view amongst Democrats? An AP-NORC poll found that 50% approved while 46% disapproved. Did you know that Donald Trump is better trusted to handle the Israel-Hamas war than Joe Biden? A Bloomberg and Morning Consult poll found Trump with 43% support compared to Biden's 33%. Did you know that Ron DeSantis' campaign is moving 3 of its top officials to Iowa this week? The campaign is sending around 20 people or a third of its Tallahassee-based national staff to the state. Did you know that Ilhan Omar will face a primary rematch in 2024? Omar previously defeated former Minneapolis City Council member Don Samuels by just 2 points in 2022. Did you know that Donald Trump leads a Florida GOP primary poll by the University of North Florida with around 60% support? DeSantis trailed with 21. Nikki Haley followed with 6. Did you know that Donald Trump is better trusted to handle U.S.-China relations than Joe Biden? A Bloomberg News and Morning Consult poll found Trump leading with 46% support compared to Biden's 34%. Did you know that Germany will hit NATO's defense spending target of 2% of GDP this year in part due to a €100 billion fund? Olaf Scholz said this would be extended in long term into this decade and the next. Did you know that Congress is seeing a group of lawmakers urging the Biden administration to drop the extradition and prosecution of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange? They say a conviction would mark a setback for the First Amendment. Did you know that Nikki Haley's campaign will put $10 million toward TV, radio and digital advertising across Iowa and New Hampshire in the first week of December? Voting in early primary states begins in January. Did you know that Donald Trump picked up support from 2 major GOP donors? Robert Bigelow switched his support for DeSantis to back Trump, and Home Depot co-founder Bernie Marcus also announced his endorsement for Trump. Did you know that the House GOP elected Blake Moore to replace Mike Johnson as vice chair? The role involves taking charge of party meetings and communicating the party's message as well as holding a seat on the House GOP steering committee. Did you know that the Biden administration sold off over 40% of the strategic petroleum reserve last year to help limit rising fuel prices after the Ukraine invasion? This left the stockpile at its lowest level since the early 1980s. Did you know that the U.S. military conducted airstrikes on 2 locations in eastern Syria holding Iranian-backed groups? They hit a training location and a weapons facility. This is in response to growing attacks on U.S. bases in Iraq and Syria. Did you know that China has lessened its investments in developing nations? It committed $79 billion to low and middle income countries in 2021, down from an average of $117 billion a year between 2013 and 2017. Did you know that Donald Trump said he could use the government to investigate his political opponents if he is re-elected? His justification lied upon his indictments by the Department of Justice. He also said he would have the DOJ investigate every Marxist prosecutor in the nation. Did you know that Nikki Haley appeared to perform best in the third debate? A 538 Washington Post and Ipsos poll found that 34% of likely Republican primary and caucus voters said Haley performed the best. DeSantis trailed with 23. Did you know that the House rejected an amendment by Claudia Tenney that would have reduced White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre's salary to $1? Tenney called Jean-Pierre a liar and anti-Semitic, and also claimed Jean-Pierre violated the Hatch Act with her use of the phrase MAGA Republicans. Did you know that Marjorie Taylor Greene saw her impeachment resolution of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas shelved? 8 Republicans joined Democrats in supporting a motion to refer the impeachment resolution to the Homeland Security Committee, blocking it from coming to the floor for a vote. Did you know that the U.S. saw 8 people killed in South Texas after a car suspected of carrying smuggled migrants fled from police and crashed into an oncoming vehicle? The suspected car saw the driver and 5 other passengers killed, some of whom were from Honduras. The driver and passenger of the hit vehicle were killed as well. Did you know that the House China Committee saw its top Republicans launch an inquiry into the Department of Veterans Affairs? Their letter expressed concern over alleged reliance on Chinese manufacturing and a lack of sufficient domestic production, which could see the public health supply chain at risk of manipulation by the Communist Party of China. Did you know that 26 senators, largely Democrats, are calling on the Biden administration to brief Congress on how Israel is carrying out its military operations to mitigate civilian casualties? This news comes as the Hamas-controlled Gaza Health Ministry has said the death toll in Gaza reached over 10,000. Did you know that Russia withdrew from the 1990 Treaty on Conventional Armed Forces in Europe, which placed verifiable limits on categories of conventional military equipment that NATO and the then Warsaw Pact could deploy? Russia had previously suspended participation in the treaty in 2007 and halted active participation in 2015. Did you know that Marjorie Taylor Greene moved to force a vote on impeaching Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas? The resolution accuses Mayorkas of willful admittance of border crossers and in violation of the Secure Fence Act, which demands perfection at the border by declaring the border operationally secure only if no people or contraband improperly enter the county. Did you know that Canada will see the federal government and the Quebec government invest $900 million each over the next 4 years to accelerate housing construction? 8,000 social and affordable housing units are expected to be created, including 500 for the homeless or those at risk of homelessness. In the longer term, the plan is expected to help build tens of thousands of homes. Did you know that the Biden administration will allocate $16.4 billion into rail projects along Amtrak's Northeast Corridor? The funding will go to 25 passenger rail projects, including those rebuilding 100-year-old tunnels and bridges, upgrading tracks, power systems, signals, stations, and advancing future projects that aim to improve travel times.